Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Doc Talk. This is episode 148.
I'm Cam and this is Julie.
I cannot for the life of me remember what they were last year and the year before. It was 102.
A and B.
And
53.
Whew.
Together, we can make it work.
And I just looked, too.
So the Torah portion will be Balak. We are moving from... oh no, it rubbed off on me.
It was like CH.
It's 22. Stop. It's gonna be numbers 22, 2 to 25, 9. That's what we're discussing. 9. How country can I sound? That's right. We need to get it back from the waves. So obviously Julie's here. Mr. Fern is behind us where he should be. Not now my partner. So much better. Much more talkative, works better that way.
We'll see. My brain obviously isn't working.
Okay, so what we're going to do is move on.
Is pray.
Yeah, seriously. Pray first, people. All right, so I wanted to start this week with just talking about, the topic, which is Balam and Balak.
Really?
Yeah, really. The whole thing. Like, we're not jumping around. This is what we're talking about. All right, enough. Let's move on. I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I just looked down and realized I can't see a thing. So maybe double glassed. Whatever. Here we go. So I wanted to look at chapter 22, verse 3. It says, "And Moab was exceedingly afraid of the people because they were many, and Moab was in dread because of the children of Israel." I love this. So
it love that he was fearful.
Yes. Why? Because Exodus 15 talks about how they're supposed to be fearful. In Exodus 15, 13, well, let's see, let's move down to 14. It says, the peoples heard, my Bible says peoples, I'm going to say people. People heard, they trembled, anguish gripped the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, and the mighty men of Moab, that's who we're talking about, trembling gripped them. All the inhabitants of Canaan melted. So here we have what Moses was singing about happening. Moab is afraid. Now remember, Moab was not supposed to be attacked, but the Lord used the people before to clear the land. All right.
And who were the people before?
People before were the Amorites. And then we had Og and Sihon.
Right.
And they are defeated in the end of last week's Torah portion.
Right.
So I wanted to show you that about the fear factor playing out. Now, Balaam is actually from, as we talked about a few years ago, Abraham's area. He's from Babylon. So it's very possible that he didn't know who it was.
Okay.
That it was Israel, God's people, when he came over.
Right.
So, he's worshiping this God. Remember, he's in the same place that Abraham was when Abraham started to follow this Lord. And, we had Job. We have other people who are worshiping him, just not a part of Israel, because Israel is a new thing. It's what the Lord's pulling all together to say, okay, all you individuals come together, and now this is who you can join to. So he doesn't know to join to them.
Right. They're a traveling nation.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking. So on that note of them being like a new nation and they're traveling through, picking up people. Well, isn't his thing that they're like ox licking up the grass?
Yes.
And aren't we like grass that withers? And aren't they doing exactly what he said? His perception, instead of joining with them, is like, it's the same thing that the Pharisees, or not the Pharisees, those in authority when Yeshua was here. It was, look at him. He's traveling around and he's picking up all these converts. And he's the ox. He's the strength.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. So on that comment about the ox licking up, jump back to the fear factor. Thank you. I forgot about that. So in Numbers 13, remember when the people, let's say the spies, the 10 spies, when they give the report, they talk about how these giants and their grasshoppers in their sight. But what were the giants doing? Remember, they were eating up the inhabitants of the land. Okay, so here's where my thought went. Okay, wait a minute. So the first time they came to Kadesh Barnea, I probably said that wrong, but let's just pretend I said it right. So they're going to go in, right? They could have gone in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I thought, wait a minute. So had they gone in, because what were the giants doing? They were basically
eating up the inhabitants,
clearing the land so they could go in and possess. All 12 tribes would have gone in and possessed. And kind of like a wave.
Yeah.
Because it was already ready. But they didn't. They have this 40 years.
Right.
So now they're going to go in, and they're going in now around Jericho, which is a different place than where I'm assuming they would have originally gone in. All right.
Right.
So now they're going up here, and we have 2.5 tribes that don't even go into land because basically they've gotten tired of traveling and they've been nomads for so long, and now they see an area they can live in. They're like, we're good. This is great.
Yeah.
We'll just stop here. With what? Our cattle. We're just going to stop here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when Israel goes in, how are they going to take over the land after that? Do you remember? It's in Deuteronomy.
By might.
By might, yeah, by the Lord. But it's going to be piece at a time.
Oh, yes. Little by little.
Yes.
So the animals
right.
don't take over.
Right. So I started thinking, first coming, second coming. The first time the Lord came, Yeshua came, the kingdom was ready to just go in and take it.
Right.
But since we had our 40 jubilees, let's say, okay, it's going to be little by little. Yeah. This process of little by little so that we don't get overwhelmed.
Right.
You know, so anyway, I hope that makes sense. I just kind of saw that like, wow.
You know, something else I saw on the fact that Moab, the king of Moab, was so afraid is that's what happened to Pharaoh. This is the same exact thing.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Once the Pharaoh that came that didn't know Joseph.
Yes.
He did the same thing. He's like, gosh, there are just so many of them and they're so numerous and they're prospering and they're doing so well. We've got to get this under control.
Yeah, and the Midianites are a part of this, and Moses married into them.
Yes.
So, absolutely like Pharaoh. Just forgot how quickly. I mean, 38 years.
Right.
How quickly the tides can turn.
One generation.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
In Israel, the bad generation had to go so the good one could go through. In the other nations,
the good
generation that was supportive had to go, and now you have these Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. So true. All right, so I want to now jump over to looking at the whole thing about the donkey. It's funny, I heard several things, and I read a few things about, some who were like, well, the thing with the donkey is just a dream. It didn't really happen, you know. And, okay, I would maybe so. But I'm not limiting God that he can't open a donkey's mouth. Because if so, then I might have to go back and limit that the ground opened up and took Korah on them. And then I might have to open and look at all the things I have to now start saying, well, maybe God couldn't have done that.
Right. Or maybe it wasn't really like
that. Maybe it was just a dream. Because God can't, he's not going to do that. So I go back to, nope, I believe that's really what happened. A donkey talked. That's right. And it never said that. It says that her mouth was open. So in 22:28 it says, and then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, which might lead one to think they could all talk if they needed to. But the Lord just keeps their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Because I'll tell you what, my animals have personality, and they give me looks like,
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. Or other looks. So I'm thinking there's some words going on in there. And then just one day. So anyway, back to this. So the donkey.
So what language do you think the donkey was speaking in? They know it all.
That's right. Donkeys.
Donkeys. Is that what you said?
Yeah, donkeys. Okay, so when Balaam's talking to the donkey, and in 29, I find this so interesting. It's 22:29. It says, and Balaam said to the donkey, because you've mocked me. And then he goes on, I wish I had a sword in my hand. But it's because you embarrassed me. Mm-hmm. Okay.
In front of who?
Yes. He's not upset that
the same exact thing.
His foot just got smushed. I'd be like, you hurt me.
You made me look bad.
Yeah, but that's what he's concerned about, how you made me look. And I thought, man, a true prophet, what would a true prophet be doing? I mean, Jeremiah says that he was the laughing stock.
Oh, yes.
Hosea is like, I married a whore. Everyone is definitely like, what are you thinking? You know,
Ezekiel had to lay on his side for a long time.
Naked. Hello. I mean, most of the ones who are called out to minister to the nations or to Israel are embarrassed. It just comes with the territory.
Look what Yeshua went through.
Exactly.
I mean, can you imagine?
I mean, they're mocking him down there. Yet his main concern is, you mocked me.
Yeah.
I just found that so interesting that was his big deal, that you mocked me instead of, I have a hurt. His foot was crushed.
Yeah.
His foot was crushed. That's got to be painful. And yet all he can do is think about his pride.
Right.
What he's feeling. And then when we go down and we see where once Balaam's eyes are open in 31 and he sees the messenger, right, with the sword drawn.
Isn't that funny that he has a sword and Balaam wish he had a sword?
Yes.
I saw that too. It was like the very thing that he wanted to kill the donkey with was the very thing that came at him to kill him with.
Oh, yeah, that is so good. And then he bows down and he falls on his face, right, but only after the threat of death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it says, and then the messenger of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? And then, so he goes on, but he says, you've been reckless in your way. And then we see that the response in 34 of Balaam is, I've sinned, for I did not know you stood in the way against me. And I'm like, so what was the sin? How about the fact that you went?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it that he was having thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it the fact that his eyes weren't open? And that's what took me on the next path. Mm-hmm. If his eyes weren't open, was it because he deceived himself? And in the deceiving himself, was that because he now had a gateway?
Yeah.
That allowed the enemy to deceive him through delusion.
Yes. It was that first time that he said, can I do this? And the Lord said no. And then he said, okay, I'm sorry, I can't. He seems like he was going on the right path. But then when more noble men came,
right, he gives
and offered more riches, he's like, all right, let me try this again.
Right. Instead of going no, he said no.
Right.
And he calls him back in 22:18. He says, I cannot go beyond the word of Yoveh, my Elohim, to do less or more.
Right.
Don't add to the word. Don't take away from the word. He understands that.
Yeah.
But we don't see him called my Elohim after he leaves with them.
Do you think that, after he leaves?
After he leaves, it's not considered my, right. So then I'm like, kind of gets deceived. And the reason why I bring that up as a moment for me, I guess, is because now Balak takes him in several different places to try to curse Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
And he can't. He can only bless them. And I thought, we just had the snake event, and we talked about the opening of portals. Yes. All the ones who had the portals were just taken out.
Yes.
So now, then to them that looked like a terrible situation. But in honesty, it could be the Lord preparing them for what they didn't even know what was happening. Yeah. Someone trying to curse them. Right. But Israel cannot be cursed unless they do something against the Torah, which, as Julie said before, it houses all of the curse.
Right.
So, even going by the word, the only way Israel or his people can be cursed is when we open a portal, a gateway, that allows the curse of the word to come to fruition.
Right.
And that's what he was looking for and wasn't found.
Yeah.
Because they had theirs closed, but Balaam had his open.
Right. Right. God. And you talking right there just made me think. So Israel, think of it as a body. Mm-hmm. And so think of us as individuals, and he'll come to us in this way. Oh, I didn't get him that way. Let's go to a different way. Oh, I didn't get him. And there's something about 3, because Yeshua was tempted 3 times, and then the devil had to leave.
Right.
So you know how we're always like, these bad things come in 3s?
Oh my
People
gosh,
say that all the time. And maybe there really is something to that. It's just about perspective. It's not necessarily, the devil's out to get me. Well, maybe, yes, that's true. He is out to get you. But sanctioned by the Lord. Right. Because we know nothing comes to us unless it's filtered through him.
Just like those serpents.
Yes. 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 Just like the serpents. The serpents were that catalyst to get the body through the next, to the next stage. Cutting out the cancer, cut that arm off that keeps causing you to sin.
And then here
they are. They're
protected.
Ready. Mm-hmm.
So while there's a lot of other things, I want to bring one more thing up. Julie has one more thing, but I just thought in 24, 13, and of course there's these blessings, and these blessings are unbelievable in favor of Israel, I should say, obviously, because they're blessings. And they're still quoted today, every Shabbat. But 24:13 says, and Balak, if Balak should give me his house filled with silver and gold, I am unable to go beyond the words of the Lord, to do either good or evil of my own heart. What I saw here was he said not good or evil, which takes you to Laban, because this is in the same area.
Oh, yeah.
Laban. And Laban's like, the Lord wouldn't let me do good or evil.
Right.
So I heard this midrash. I've never heard this before. I don't remember ever hearing this before. And that was that it's thought that Balaam
is a descendant?
Yes, of Laban. Did I say that before? Did
no,
you say that?
But that makes sense.
I never had. I was like, what? Wait a minute. And I went back and read that. I was like, oh, it's the same thing that Laban couldn't say. Mm-hmm. Don't say good or evil to him. Same thing. Don't say good or evil. He's like, oh, I want to say this, but I can't.
It's the generational curse blessing.
Yes. And we have that with the same idea when we have Mordecai and we have Haman. Yeah. Same family lines that crossed paths before, crossing paths again.
Right.
Anyway.
That is cool.
I just thought that was interesting. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I was listening to Rabbi Foreman on Aleph Beta, and he made this comment that made me go, wait a minute. I didn't know that. So in his opinion, Balaam repented in the end, and after he repented, not repented like I'm so sorry, but like we know he repented because he gave the most comprehensive prophecy of the Messiah.
Like he got all this information.
Yes. And the only reason a Gentile, and he was a Gentile, who got the prophecy to give to Israel, or so Israel would know, and it was all about the Messiah. About, the star and the branch and, all of these different things. And Rabbi Foreman said it is the best description of Messiah that we have in the whole Bible, and it came from a Gentile. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I thought to myself, wait a minute, but we know Balaam wasn't good. We know he was bad.
Right.
And why do we know that? Well, because of the New Testament.
Right.
Which Rabbi Foreman would not be
have read.
Looking at. We know that Jude says, don't go in the way of Balaam for the money. And we also know that the church of Pergamus in Revelation chapter 2 talks about that they were harboring Balaam.
Right.
Not harboring, but you know what I mean? They were entertaining Balaam, and then it sacrificed to idols and went
Peter
whoring.
talks about him too.
And went whoring. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Okay, so all of the things that we know that are bad about Balaam came from the New Testament. So I thought, okay, so we got a little more of the story. So that's kind of for us as Gentiles, we got a little more, a bigger piece of the puzzle, because the church of Pergamus was around the 3rd century when they coexisted, coexisted, I guess, is the word that I'm using today, this week. Yeah. Because that seems to be the word today, coexist. Yeah. But what that said was, what if Balaam, or my thought was, what if Balaam's motives weren't necessarily like, hey, let me tell you how to fool them, as much as it was, look, you can't bless them or curse them, so let me teach you how to coexist.
If you can't beat them, join them.
But instead of joining them and doing it the way Yahweh said, he taught them how to join and entice them to do it the wrong way.
Right.
So then I thought,
to be comfortable in where you moved.
Yes. When I thought of the early church with the Jewish people, how they had the most comprehensive picture of Messiah, Jesus, on the cross, dying for our sins, and they took that, enticed the Jews to come and join them, and then commanded that they worship their way and leave the Torah way. Right. And I thought, so basically we're like that last generation. We're just undoing that. Yeah. But we're going to be tested again. I mean, this is happening at the end. Right. So we're going to have that testing again. Are we going to coexist? Right. Or are we going to say, no, it's Yahweh's way. That's it.
Right. Because Israel, that's the whole thing. Moab really didn't have to be afraid of them because they weren't there to mingle.
Exactly.
They were there
to just pass
through. Right. And to be their own nation.
Right. Yeah. Right. So instead of rejoicing, and Rabbi Foreman also brings up that they weren't afraid of them. necessarily until they defeated Og and
Scion.
Yes.
And
That's when
he
they
does
said,
say that.
Whoa.
Well, because they were the largest, strongest nations
Right.
who had beat them.
Right.
So it's like, wait, the one who beat us, they beat. How bad are they?
Yeah.
How tough are they?
Right. So instead of pleading, can we join you? Instead of being Ruth, they decided to
be Balaam.
Balaam. Be bad. Anyway, that was just my thought, hooking it with the church and the history of the church.
That's good. So we are not going to be speaking about the actual Baal Peor event.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about that one before. If not, it'll just hook in with next week's really well.
I was going to say,
because it actually goes better with it next week anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, read through this. It's fantastic. Really, if you can get a feel for the depth of who Messiah is in this this portion. And, you had made the comment about this is the greatest definition. It just hit me while you're talking.
Obviously, yeah.
Do you realize that he didn't give this information to Moses?
I know.
The Lord gave verbatim because right, but to Moses because it's in here.
Oh, yeah.
So it means for people to look and go, well, that may not be really what he said, because I heard someone say, well, that's not his exact words. No, because this is not being transcribed. I see what you're saying.
God
is giving Moses these words, which means this is what Balaam said. Yeah. This is what was supposed to be said. Yes. So now I'm like, wait a minute. That person who was teaching, well, these aren't exactly the words that God said because Balaam said them differently.
Now they're taken away.
Hold on. Right. Hold on. This is exactly what he said because Balaam didn't tell Moses. God did.
Right. Well, good point.
Yeah. Just had. Light bulb. Anyway, so we will end this. Oh, and I know I said we were going to be in a weird place, but we decided to, for Doc Talk this week, but we decided to do it early, which is why you're seeing it a day or two early, and because we're hitting the road. So, anyway, just thought I'd say that because I did say
we're going to the Revive Conference.
Yes.
So
if you're in Jacksonville, Florida, check us out.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week with, I don't know what it is.
1.9.
149, yes. All right.
Our counting's off this week.
Yes. All right. Well, we hope you have a fantastic week. Shalom.